In this video, I give you the 6 rules to help you reach 10% body fat, the same rules I use to look like this naturally at age 46. No crash diets, no magic supplements, just 6 proven rules that actually work. So the first rule of getting to 10% body fat is you need to have accountability with your diet. It's one thing if you have a lot of weight to lose and you're just making some changes. It's a completely different thing if you're trying to get to that shredded look that comes with being 10% body fat. So if you don't have the accountability that comes with tracking your intake, it's too hard to know what to do. If you hit plateaus, how do you know how to make adjustments? Are you eating enough protein? And I remember when I first started tracking my intake, I was blown away with what my diet actually looked like. I was eating a lot more than I thought. I was blown away with what the portion sizes are of things. Like, have you ever actually truly measured out a portion size of peanut butter? It's kind of depressing actually. But the point is, once you start tracking, you start measuring your food, and you become accountable to your intake, this is how you start making that good progress. The second rule to getting to 10% body fat is you need a good strength training program. So here's the thing with getting 10% body fat. It's not like it's that actual percentage that you care about. It's the look that's associated with having 10% body fat. Well-defined muscles, a chiseled six-pack, things like that that are gonna come only through building the muscle that you get from a good strength training program. So while it's possible to get to these low levels of body fat without training, it's probably not gonna look the way you want it to look unless you're really training hard, pushing yourself close to failure, and in my opinion, training 4 to 5 days per week, hitting everything twice per week. As research has shown, if you hit the same muscle groups twice per week over just once per week, it does yield better results. Plus, besides just building muscle for the look, muscle is also metabolically demanding. So the more muscle you have, the faster your metabolism is. Training not only burns calories during the exercise itself, but it actually continues to burn calories for another 48 hours post-training. So the training stimulus not only gives you the muscle, but it turns your body into a calorie burning machine. Now, the third rule to 10% body fat is you need to eat a high protein diet. So we just talked about the importance of building muscle to not only get the look, but to improve your metabolism and all those things that come with it. Well, if you don't eat enough protein, you're not going to build the necessary muscle. But not only is protein helpful with building muscle, it also has an extremely high thermic effect of food, so it burns a lot of calories just processing the food you eat. It's also the most filling macronutrients, and one of the biggest barriers most people have to getting to low levels of body fat is the inability to deal with hunger. So something that helps you feel full obviously has benefit. So I recommend at a minimum eating around 1 gram per pound of whatever your goal weight is. But in my opinion, especially if you're already pretty lean, eating closer to around 1 gram per pound of your current weight is probably more ideal. It's not better for actual anabolism, but it does help with all the other benefits I was just talking about. Now, the fourth rule to 10% body fat is you need to be active here. And I'm not talking about training in the gym. I'm talking about what you do in your everyday life, because it's just so easy to be sedentary nowadays. And you might be blown away with how few steps you take, especially if you're not tracking them. Remember when I first started tracking, I couldn't believe I was only averaging like 2,000 to 3,000 steps a day. And that's including the time I went to the gym. And the thing is, walking is one of the best things you can do to help body fat. Not only does your body preferentially use body fat in lower intensity forms of activities, but it's also easy to recover from. It's not so intense. Like higher intensity forms of cardio can burn more calories in a shorter period of time, but you're already in a calorie deficit, your body fat's getting lower, you're training hard, energy levels are gonna be at a premium. And if you're blasting yourself with intense cardio, you're just gonna run yourself into the ground. You often end up moving around less throughout the day now because you're so exhausted. And walking actually tends to help with hunger, whereas high intensity forms of cardio typically make you more hungry. Now, of course, the trade-off here is it does take more time to walk, but there's typically ways to get around that. In fact, a lot of people that do really well have walking pads at their desk, at a standing desk, and they can keep walking as they work. And honestly, if you really look at your life, there's usually a lot of opportunities to move. For instance, if you're just talking on the phone, instead of sitting around and talking, get up, walk around while you're talking. If you're on a half-hour call and you just keep moving through it, you've now got an extra half hour, which is usually around 3,000 steps, just like that. So look for opportunities in your life where you're normally sitting, but you don't have to be, and it can really help it add up. Now, the fifth rule to 10% body fat is you need P.P.S. Plan, prepare, and schedule. I hate to break it to you, but if you want to get to 10% body fat, that's a pretty lofty goal. It's absolutely doable, but you're not going to get there by just winging it and hoping things come together. Getting to 10% body fat requires a true commitment. But commitment doesn't mean I'm going to do it if it's convenient or if it's not too hard or if I'm not too busy. It means you're doing it. The dictionary defines commit as a pledge or bind to a certain course or policy. A certain course, meaning it's going to get done. So like I said, it is absolutely doable to get to this goal, but you're not gonna get there if you aren't willing to work through life's challenges and take them head on, and planning, preparing, and scheduling helps you get there. Schedule in your workouts and when you're gonna go for walks. Take time on the weekends or whenever you're home more and plan out meals. I'm telling you, show me what you plan to prepare for, and I'll show you what you get. Now the sixth rule, while yes, consistency is important. In fact, you will not reach your goal without consistency, but consistency doesn't mean perfection. You cannot have the all or nothing mentality and expect to reach your goal, because all or nothing will always end in nothing. When is it ever not? So consistency doesn't mean perfect, it means you continue to show up for yourself even when it's more difficult. Sometimes you're gonna have to back off. Maybe you work out a little bit less. Maybe you can't be quite as spot on. Maybe you have to take some time out of a deficit for a little bit and just go back to maintenance. In fact, that can be a really useful strategy to help keep your hormones and metabolism in a better spot. They're called diet breaks, where you go back to maintenance. It's a great thing to do, and when you're busy, you can back off a little bit. But if you at least keep yourself somewhat steady, when you would normally say, well, I can't lose, so screw it, what's the point? And then just binge and go off the deep end. Well, if you keep showing up and doing what you can keep netting progress long term. And this is why I say things like food doesn't have morality. There is no good or bad. You can include things you enjoy into your diet. That makes it more sustainable and it allows you to keep going long term. Yes, there's foods that will support your goals better. You want to eat plenty of nutrient dense whole foods that will fuel the body well and help you feel full. But I promise you, having some pizza or ice cream and working into your diet is not going to keep you from reaching your goals. I include them in mine and it doesn't stop me whatsoever. And banning all those foods you love is the very thing that gives you that all or nothing mentality that keeps you from reaching your goals. Now, those 6 rules will help you get the majority of the way there, but once you get down to that last 5 to 10 pounds, it gets more and more difficult. So to find out what you need to do to make that last little push, make sure you check out this video next, and I'll help you get that last bit of belly fat off. So check that out next, and I'll see you in that other video.